What's going on, everyone? This is the latest generation of the 15-inch ASUS TUF gaming notebook. For the last years, TUF gaming laptops such as the FX504 and the FX505 have been among the better value products you could buy on a budget, with mid-range specs and pretty good gaming capabilities. This has made them very popular across the world. The TUF A15 FA506 that we have here is the latest addition to this lineup and improves on previous versions across multiple fields. It's not only faster due to being built on AMD Ryzen 4000 hardware and NVIDIA GTX or RTX graphics, but it's also nicer built, offers a better screen and longer battery life, among others. We'll leave the elephant in the room for the second part of the clip, and that's the performance and overall worth of this new AMD platform. Instead, let's talk about the tiny changes that make this a surprisingly good product in its lower price tier segment. First off, this updated TUF feels overall stronger and nicer made than the previous models. It's also a little bit cleaner, with fewer logos and branding elements. Plastic is still used for the main chassis and inner deck with a brushed texture, but the interior has been reinforced and doesn't flex or bend the way it did before. Furthermore, the lid is entirely metallic and available in two versions: Fortress Grey, the one we have here, and a more complex Bonfire Black alternative. Otherwise, the FA506 is not as compact or light as the more premium 15-inch ultra portables out there, but it's small enough. You can tell that by the bezels around the screen, and here it is side by side to the ASUS StudioBook Pro 15, a device several times more expensive. Despite the small bezels, there's a camera at the top of the screen, flanked by microphones, but it's not much in terms of quality.
Okay, so this is how the webcam looks, and this is how it picks up sound, and this is the keyboard noise.
Onto the more practical aspects, I appreciate the blunted front lip and corners that don't bite into my wrists on this notebook, as well as the fact that I can easily lift up the screen and adjust it with a single hand. However, the screen only leans back this much, and not all the way flat. And while I'm nitpicking, I would like to see these status LEDs moved onto the sides on a future generation, as well as not have a light in the power button. They're both annoying when trying to watch a movie at night. Flipping the laptop upside down, you'll see that the entire button has been revamped. Might not seem like much, but this honeycomb structure, backed by some internal reinforcements, improved the laptop's sturdiness and grip. At the side, ASUS also put larger rubber feet down here, as well as larger speaker cuts, which hint improved audio. And yes, the speakers are now slightly richer and louder, but are still only about average overall. I'd also mention the slightly revamped I/O on this TUF notebook. This time around, there's a USB slot on the right side as well, and all the other ports are aligned on the left, starting with the PSU and LAN tucked all the way back out of the way. The novelty is the USB-C port, something that previous TUFs have lacked in the past. It supports data and DisplayPort, but not charging. Moving on, the screen is now a little bit brighter and richer than the one on the older FX505, and it's a 140Hz panel with fairly fast response times and no flickering. Again, you're going to get nicer panels on an ROG laptop or something else from a higher segment, but overall this is fine for gaming and daily use indoors, and a welcome update. Inputs have also been slightly revamped. The clunky clickpad of the past has been replaced with a fixed touchpad with physical buttons. It's still made out of plastic and rather small, but works alright with daily swipes, taps and gestures. As for the keyboard, it feels about the same as before, which is not bad and not great either. The layout is about the same as well, except for the arrow keys that are now a little smaller and better spaced out from the keys around. Still, these keys are soft and nice to the touch, but their feedback is somewhat spongy and imprecise. I reckon most of you should find it okay, but there are nicer typers out there. Oh, and you probably noticed that this keyboard is also RGB backlit, and you can control the color and set up a few effects in the included Aura software. Okay, let's touch on the hardware specs and how this notebook handles everyday use, demanding loads and gaming. Our configuration is the TUF Gaming A15 FA506IV, with a Ryzen 4800H processor, 32GB of RAM in dual channel, 1TB of storage and dual graphics, an overclocked NVIDIA RTX 2060 90W discrete GPU, and the integrated Vega chip embedded within the processor that takes over with basic tasks. The AMD processor is the major update here, with 8 cores, 16 threads and excellent performance. ASUS offers 3 power profiles for this laptop, as with most of their others, available in the Armoury Crate app. Silent favors low noise and limits the CPU and GPU, so it's best suited for light use and video. Performance is a balanced profile with stock CPU and GPU settings, great for multitasking and some light gaming, while turbo overclocks the GPU and increases the CPU's power allocation, but also ramps up the fans. This is meant for demanding loads and gaming, Just keep in mind that with the fans ramping up to about 50 dB at head level, you'll probably need headphones to cover them up. As far as performance goes, we've run a handful of benchmarks and games on this system. Some of our findings are included in the video, and you should pause if you need to look at the data more closely. But the more in-depth analysis and performance logs are available on our site, or ultrabookreview.com. I've left a link for the review in the description down below. For what is worth though, this Ryzen configuration pretty much smokes the existing AMD and Intel chips out of the water in demanding loads such as Cinebench or Blender. Furthermore, the performance does not degrade over time in demanding loads, as long as you opt for the turbo profile, and that can make this TUF FA506 an excellent workhorse for certain kinds of software that can benefit from its core count and the processing power. But this is also fine for daily use, for browsing and for video, while running quietly and coolly. ASUS implemented a 90 Wh battery on this configuration, and that's good enough for 3 to 5 hours of multitasking and up to 10 hours of Netflix on a charge, something no other similar laptop offers right now. And then there's the gaming experience, where this AMD platform is finally on par with the Intel alternatives. In the past, AMD Ryzen 3000 models performed as much as 30% slower in certain titles compared to an Intel i7 model with similar graphics, and that's no longer the case. Still, certain Intel configurations such as the MSI G65 Raider or the ASUS ROG Scar still have an edge with the games, but in all fairness, those are significantly more expensive notebooks with a higher tier thermal design. Furthermore, keep in mind that our TUF FA506 is a pre-production model with early drivers, so these results might improve over time with better optimized software. Speaking of thermals, let's pop up the back panel and have a look at the cooling design. Oh, and while we're here, we can also notice the easily accessible RAM slots and the two M.2 SSD storage drives. There's no hard drive cage on this larger battery variant, but you do get one with the smaller battery option. Oh, and make sure to get dual RAM on this laptop, it makes a big difference in games with the recent Windows installments. Anyway, back to the thermal module. It's a slight variation of what we've seen on the previous FX505 models, with two fans and a handful of heat pipes covering the CPU, the GPU and VRMs. It does a fairly good job at keeping the hardware at bay, but the components run hot with demanding loads and games. The CPU in particular averages temperatures in the mid-90s in titles such as Far Cry 5 and Witcher 3, with the GPU averaging around 80 degrees Celsius, and that's on the turbo profile with the fans blowing at 50 dB at head level. Up to you if you're okay with this sort of temperatures on your gaming laptop. They're high, but they're not abnormally high, and they're backed up by the overall performance levels and pricing. That means that you can find faster gaming laptops out there, as well as options with superior thermals, but you'll have to pay extra for them. Don't forget, the TUF FA506 is the entry-level ASUS gaming laptop, and it sure is impressive for what it is. And that brings us to how much ASUS charges for this. Well, it's not yet available in the US at the time of this video, so you should head over to the site for later updates on availability and pricing. However, the configuration reviewed here is listed at £1,300 in the UK, which is about on par with the Core i5 1660 Ti version of the ASUS Strix G or the Acer Predator Helios over there, or with an i7 2060 configuration of the Lenovo Legion Y540. That's highly competitive for what this laptop is, and hopefully the same kind of aggressive pricing will also carry on to the US and other countries. And don't forget, this is the higher end configuration, but lower tier versions with Ryzen 5 processors and GTX graphics might offer even greater value for their price. All in all, I feel that ASUS did a really good job with this laptop, and I'm confident it's going to be highly popular throughout 2020. It still shows its budget positioning here and there, like in the plastic inner deck and the average screen and the somewhat spongy keyboard, and it lacks certain features that you'll find on a more premium product. But then again, this costs less, performs spectacularly well for its class, and doesn't majorly compromise on any important aspect that could perhaps kill it for some of you. In conclusion, if you're shopping for a performance or a gaming notebook and don't have thousands to spend for, this ASUS TUF Gaming FA506 could well be the best bang for your buck in the months to come. On the other hand, if you're willing to spend more, then yes, you've got other options, and we'll cover them in future videos here on the channel and future articles on the site. Anyway, that's about it for this review. Let me know what you think about this ASUS notebook in the comment section down below, hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more of our content. See you in the next one.